desire of all human hearts is God. We're radically oriented towards God, and we long for God. The grandeur of the incarnation is what we celebrate at Christmas. But every year we can experience that incredibly shrinking Jesus. He's a baby. The next week he's a 12-year-old. The week after that he's doing the ministry. So he just rockets ahead. But we have to ask ourselves, where is our faith? Are we still infants in the faith or are we mature? The church invites us to be adults at Christmas. Yes, to reminisce, and yes, to savor memories, but in that Annunciation, the news of Mary saying yes, it's a historic moment. We have a God who not only intervenes in history, but is the author of history and breaks into history into us. Of course, the catch for human beings is that we have free will. We could say, that's nice. It's not good news, it's just some news, or I've heard it before. It can grow stale. So if the beginning of our redemption doesn't capture your imagination, there's probably an issue there. There are indeed intractable problems in our world, but there's also astonishing changes that take place when faith comes to bear on the issues that confront us as a society. This afternoon, 1:30 in the Hartford Public Library, Archbishop Blair invited me to take part in a roundtable discussion sponsored by Congressman Larson about the difficulties of jihadi terrorists, or whatever the politically correct term is these days. I'm always afraid to say something because you always say the wrong thing because it moves so quickly. It should be interesting, but I believe the panel is so large that we'll only be able to each get in one soundbite per person. But as we mark this coming week, when we'll all be deluged with people and relatives and presents, I would invite you to step aside from world events for a moment and spend time in private prayer. Private prayer before the great feast of Christmas to prepare yourselves, because it's in our interior lives that we have the forum to encounter the God that we long for, that desire of all our hearts. Take time in prayer. And might I make a suggestion? If you don't have a baby handy, like a little one, last week we baptized a cute little baby boy, Nolan. Well, he's probably bigger now. But it's wonderful to sit there, especially if we can hold them like a football and you kind of walk around and it's wonderful, but they grow up so quickly, we all know that. But if you don't have a baby handy, go to the maternity ward in a local hospital. Every time I go to the hospital and visit sick people, I remember they don't want to be here and I don't want to be there. Nobody likes being around sick people. We like to help them, we like to visit, and we like to exit quickly. But when you go to the maternity ward, you can't look in the mirror because there's so many people. You can't look in because people are crowded around. They want to see new life. They want to see healthy, happy, babbling babies. Maybe that's a good place for prayer. A good place just as if we come before the stable that will be constructed before the altar in just a few days. Because we have to ask ourselves, is my faith like this baby? God comes to us in that form, helpless. So we bring God to birth in our lives. If you raise your faith to maturity by God's grace, it's a conscious thing. You don't drift through life accomplishing anything. You have to be intentional about how are you going to grow into an adult believer at Christmas. And yes, you can still get excited about presents and company and food and celebrating. But you have to understand it at a deeper level. It is indeed happy birthday, Jesus, but it's also God became like this flesh. This flesh is good if we reflect on it, if we know what we do with it. All those problems and challenges that face us can be overwhelming without God breaking into our lives. So to have a Merry Christmas, prepare in prayer. Reflect on your infancy and ask yourself, where am I now on that continuum towards heaven? Am I still in that infantile stage? Am I still on baby formula? Or can I handle something bigger? Have you read the Bible? Do you know your catechism? Do you have a devotion? Do you remember the saint whose name you took for confirmation? Have you been to confession? Have you received the Eucharist? Have you listened to the Word of God? Have you lived out in this Jubilee year of mercy, spiritual works of mercy? Have you performed corporal works of mercy? And don't think of it as like, oh, I'm not a good Catholic. Think about it instead as what wonderful things we're able to do because God became a child. All the saints always bemoan the fact that they're not holier, and they're saints. Do you feel badly at times that you're not holier? Could we be better? We can all be better. On Friday, Holy Father Pope Francis turned 79 years old, and he looks good. But for his birthday, the present to himself and to us was to declare that Mother Teresa would be named a saint. I already thought she was a saint. But that's wonderful news, because we need wonderful examples, beautiful examples. And really, what's better than a baby? A baby makes us bend over and look, and we even change our language. We talk differently to babies. But do we speak a baby language in our faith? If your prayer is still, now I lay me down to sleep, maybe you could bring it up a few notches. Maybe you could advance a little bit. And who do you learn from? You start out as a child, but you learn from the wonderful people in the parish who have lived life. They really do have the gift of wisdom and faith to show us the way. The seniors of our parish can teach us so much about what to do with this mysterious life of spirituality. After the 11:30 Mass, we will dedicate our outdoor Stations of the Cross. Parishioner Ryan Small, who hopes to be an Eagle Scout, made the outdoor stations a pathway on the other side of the rectory. It's quite nice. And I think it might be an opportunity to walk the stations, since it's going to be 80 degrees this week anyways. 'Tis the season. You have the opportunity to what? Not just sit still for prayer, but move your body in prayer, just as you do at liturgy. You do it at liturgy all the time. You sit and you stand, you listen, you reflect, you kneel, you process, you recess, all those things. When my grandmother couldn't get out of the house to take the bus downtown to do the stations, she would do the stations in her kitchen. So the first station was the refrigerator, and the second station was the dishwasher, and the third, she had the right idea. You move your body because your body is the form of your soul. You show with your body what you feel with your soul. Catholics use all five senses. So ask yourself, are you still a babbling child? That's cute. But you really want to be an adult, to really appreciate the profound, historic moment of God coming into our world. And then you will have a Merry Christmas.